Some years ago, when I was in college, I took some Spanish classes. I really loved the language and thought that it's very similar to English in terms of grammar. So, I decided to continue learning until I can speak and understand Spanish without the help of any translation app. My college degree only permitted 2 foreign language classes. However, my Spanish did not improve after 2 classes. I had a really hard time with grammar and knew only a few words. A few months later, after finishing my 2 Spanish classes, I forgot all the grammar and vocabulary I had learned within those classes. I was so sad and disappointed. My original goal was to learn Spanish until I could watch a movie without reading subtitles. But I could not even understand a complete sentence. Even though I was disappointed that I had not learned anything, I decided I should not quit learning Spanish. I went to my school library and checked out a few books for Spanish beginners. The books had grammar, vocabulary, conversation, and practice parts. It also included quizzes with answers. Those books were exactly what I wanted for a Spanish self-study. Each chapter contained a conversation part and was translated into English. The practice and grammar section also had English translations, so the books were easy to read and understand. I set a goal for myself to study Spanish for 1 hour each day using those books. I was so excited at the beginning, thinking that this time I could learn Spanish within a year. But let's just say the excitement lasted only 3 weeks. My college classes got harder, and my boss asked me to work more days. I found myself working more, spending more time studying, and doing college homework, such as writing long essays. Working more hours at my job and doing more homework caused me to feel tired and stressed. At the end of each day, I had no energy to study Spanish. On my free days, meaning days that I was not working, I felt too lazy to study or read my Spanish books. Once again, I felt disappointed and sad that I could not learn Spanish. Some years passed and I finished college. I was busy working and I felt that the days were just passing by. I also had no hobbies outside of work. Later that same year, I suddenly lost my job. I felt saddened, but at the same time, I also felt a little bit relieved. I worked for many years in that same place, and I thought it was time for me to move on and gain new and different work experiences. Some weeks later, after losing my job, I went to a job fair in a community college near my house. The morning of the job fair, I was both excited and nervous. I wore an outfit that was both casual and professional and put on some light makeup. The job fair was held at 11 in the morning and I arrived about 10:45. As soon as I arrived within the building where the job fair was held, I started to feel very nervous. I felt that my job experiences and resume were not good enough. I felt uneasy in my stomach and my self confidence was suddenly gone. Nervously, I approached the staff members and each table where each company had placed their information, cards, pamphlets, and job listings. I talked to some staff members representing those companies and gave them my resume. And they also gave me their company cards and information handouts. After the job fair, I returned home feeling happy because I thought I would get an awesome and interesting new job. However, days and weeks passed, and I did not get any contact back from the companies that I liked. I only got one person calling me back for a specific job whose location was too far from my house. I ended up applying for a few other jobs, but I was unsuccessful. After getting rejected for those jobs, I felt really discouraged. But one day, I thought to myself that maybe now that I have lots of free time, I can finally to start to learn Spanish. Maybe losing my job and not finding another job quickly was finally giving me an opportunity for lots of free time to study and learn Spanish. So I went to my local library and checked out a few books for beginner level Spanish. Now that I had no college homework or a job, I had lots of time to read and study those books. A few weeks later, I finished one book and started another. I continued to memorize about 20 Spanish words per day. And I also started to listen to a Spanish podcast. At first, my listening skills were not good. I could only understand the podcast by looking at the screen and reading the text. However, a few months later, I noticed that I could understand the podcast by just listening. I also started reading children's books in Spanish, since children's books are easier to understand. I really loved the stories within those books. Those storybooks made my language learning fun and interesting. Sometime later, I found another job and started working again. But this time, I did not let my work stop my language learning journey. I set a goal that even if I don't have time or feel lazy to read a book or memorize new words, I would still listen to at least 30-minute Spanish podcast each day. A few months passed, and although I did not spend much time and effort reading and studying books, I focused more on memorizing new words and listening podcasts. From a beginner level, my Spanish improved to intermediate, and after 2 years, I was at an advanced level. I was watching movies, dramas, and anime episodes dubbed in Spanish, and I was happy because I could finally understand the conversations. In this episode, I did not describe exactly how I planned my Spanish studies for learning this language. So, I plan to make another English podcast episode later to explain in more detail how I learned and improved my Spanish. Thank you so much for listening and watching my videos. If you enjoyed this type of English podcast episode of storytelling and would like more episodes like this, please like and subscribe. Thank you so much, and I look forward to seeing you in my next episode.